Okay. So the title of my talk is Working by Yourself Together. So what that means is a lot of us here are freelancers who have just decided to go out on our own. Some of us have worked for agencies before, some of us haven't. And the together part is something that a lot of people miss, especially when they just work from home by themselves. You miss all that kind of community with employees or colleagues you'd otherwise have in a traditional workplace. So I'm Robey Lawrence. Bearded Friend is the name of my freelancing business. So working for yourself is great, but it can get lonely very quickly. Especially in your home office, you might have a cat or a dog, or the TV might be on in the background, just keeping you company. But I'm going to give you a few tips on productivity and professional growth, and mental health is a big one as well that a lot of people struggle with, and I do too still. So there's some things you can do to help overcome that. So some things can come along to distract you quite easily that you just don't expect. So in a workplace, you turn up for the day, you get given your task list for the day or for the week, and someone else makes those decisions for you. When you're freelancing, there's no one else to make those decisions for you. So you've got to decide that. I'm a little bit nervous. It's okay. Doing great. Sorry, that was loud. Okay, I'm just going to go through the points of benefits of co-working, which there are many. So co-working is a social gathering of a group of people who are still working independently, but who share values and who are interested in the, when you say synergy, you've got to do that. Synergy that can happen from working with people who value working in the same place alongside each other. Work-life balance is probably the biggest struggle. It's, especially in our industry, we can work wherever we've got a laptop and internet, basically. So it's super easy to get up out of bed, walk straight to the office because you know you've got to check your emails, or you've got something that needs to be done. And the same thing at night. It can get to 5 o'clock, but you go, oh, I've still got all these things to do. And then you end up staying up and having dinner at like 10 p.m. and then going to bed at midnight, and then waking up at 7, going straight to the office doing the same thing. It may not have happened to you, but it happens to a lot of people, and especially myself. So you've also got to dress yourself for work. So that's like, it puts you in that mindset, I guess, of just being, I feel like I'm dressed, I'm at work. You can stay in your pajamas, you can stay in a bit of cheesecloth if that's what you wear. But it's more a mental thing than anything, I think I've found. So most days I try to put my shoes on, put my clothes on, not just walk around in my trackies and Ugg boots. I do that occasionally, but it just helps you, that mindset thing. The commute. So again, in the working at home, there's no separation between home and work. So a co-working space is like, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, a co-working space is one of the best things I've found to combat that, the whole mental barrier, because you've got that drive, whether it's, even if it's only 10 minutes away, you've got that mental separation between home and work. It forces you into a structured day. So other people who come along can keep you accountable. You can keep other people accountable for whatever you're doing during the day, even if you're doing something completely different. So I went to a place in Brisbane called Jelly. I'll briefly mention that in the future, but that's like anyone who freelances or can work from anywhere comes together just for the sake of being together. So when I went, I was working on a website. There was someone else who was building a web app, but then there were even people who don't do computer stuff. Like there was people there just knitting. I don't know why that's funny. People knit. But yeah, and otherwise everyone would just be sitting at home by themselves. And so just having other people around, it's just a big help in being motivated and keeping each other accountable. Different perspectives is also very helpful. Has anyone heard of rubber ducking? A few people, yeah. So rubber ducking is a way to, say you're coding something and it's not working and you have no idea and you've been trying like for 30 minutes just trying to figure out why this thing is not displaying on the page or whatever. Rubber ducking is, I have a big rubber duck that I got from Kmart. It's like that big, it's like $5. But the concept is you explain the problem to the duck or any inanimate object. And just that process of explaining that problem to the duck, you go, oh, right, you're right, I did miss that semicolon over there. And then it works. The benefit of a co-working space is you actually have real people. So if it's a little bit more complicated than a semicolon, you've more than likely got someone there who can maybe help you in the right direction. Same thing with, even if it's not coding, if it's graphic design, you can get different opinions. Like it might be a really good design, but then someone comes along and says, yeah, but that doesn't really make sense. I don't know. It's a really good button, but I don't know what the button's for. And so having that different perspective from other people, yeah, you don't get that from working by yourself at home. I didn't have anything to add to that. That's just, it says it all. As I was saying before, just that accountability and motivation, they kind of tie in. They're kind of the same thing, just having other people around, just head down, going like this on the other side of the table, even if they're just checking Facebook, but from my perspective, I should be doing that. That's what I need to be working. I can't be just, laying back on my phone. That would just make me look really unprofessional and lazy. Again, that's what I just said. Mel put these slides together for me. And I really like this one because it's the word focus, but it's out of focus. Again, accountability, I don't know if I'm going to stuff up another slide that I've got later on, but we had I lived in the Gold Coast for a while, and I met some friends, Nick and Tracy up the back, and then also Paul and a couple of other people, and we used to go to each other's houses to co-work, because there was limited co-working spaces around. There were a few, but we figured if it's just going to be us, just going somewhere for the sake of being together, why not just use our own dining room tables? And so we used to go to each other's place, and one week we might be at Nick's, and then we'll be at Tracy's, and then we'll be at my place, and we'd share lunch, and we'd be able to check in with each other, and we'd remember tasks that they said they were doing last week. And so we'd be able to just say, you know, how are you going with this task? And so that was really good to help with accountability and motivation, because you're like, oh, they're probably going to ask me how I was going with this next time we go co-working, so I'd better have made progress, otherwise I'm going to look, you know, really lazy. The whole mingling and networking side of things, not like, I don't go to a lot of business networking events, just because I don't like how unnatural it can get with, here, take my business card, thanks, I've got a stack of, what am I going to do with you? The whole relationship side is what I really get out of it, which is why I kind of changed networking to the word mingling, just getting to know people for who they are and what they do. And same thing, vice versa. I want to explain to people, you know, a bit more of my personality rather than just, these are my services, do you want them? And so you can get a lot out of that from co-working spaces. If you don't have any co-working spaces near you, there are lots of other online channels as well, which I'm in, probably too many, but Slack has probably been mentioned a few times. It's like an instant messenger on steroids, I think, is how they kind of advertise it. There's heaps of Facebook groups just about general WordPress, advanced WordPress, different levels of where you're at, different theme builders, different plugins, different niches in WordPress. It's just a good way to, I guess, communicate with others about if they've got tips on how to use certain plugins, or if you're struggling with something, or even just asking personal questions, just having that commonality with, I use the same plugin as you, so you've got something to start that conversation with. Meetups is a really good one as well. Meetups are like, if you haven't been to a meetup, they're like a mini WordCamp. So it's like 3 hours instead of 2 days. It's like, in our case, it's like 20 people instead of a couple of hundred. So I don't feel so nervous speaking in front of our local meetup. So that's a good place to start. I haven't actually done this before, but I'd like to. So if anyone, so, yeah, where's the nearest beach? So there is kind of a few rules, well, not rules, they're unspoken rules, but I guess common courtesy and some other kind of tips if you do decide to go out co-working for the first time, or so every co-working space I've been to is different pretty much. So being prepared kind of limits the distractions and roadblocks in your workday. So if you went to a co-working space and there was no PowerPoint nearby, it means when your battery dies after a couple of hours, you've then got to get up and go and sit yourself, lean against a wall where there's a PowerPoint for a couple of hours while it charges. So here's some things that are in my backpack. Sorry. So up the top there's like a portable battery for your phone, because phone batteries are crap. There's a couple of adapters for laptops to plug into various monitors. Some co-working spaces that I've been to actually have monitors there that you can use. A lot of people say, I don't want to go to a co-working space because I've got this suite set up at home with dual monitors. And so if they have the facilities there, adapters or dongle life, as they call it, is a thing these days. Just your various USB cables for whatever devices you have. Extension lead, power board, headphones are really good, especially when you're in a busy place and you just have to get something done. Being able to drown everything else out is, well, it works for me anyway. I just put on some music with no lyrics, might be a movie soundtrack or something, just gets me in the zone. Be polite. Don't fill in the blank. I had a few suggestions, but Mel said we should just put dots there instead, just to be safe. So, for example, if you've got to take a loud phone call or something, step outside or find a meeting room if they have one, or just talk really quietly, but it can really distract other people, and a lot of the time it's probably a private conversation anyway. If you've got a question for someone else or you want to ask someone else's advice, it's a bit harder to tell when it's your first time co-working, but after a while you get to learn, like, if someone's really concentrating on something, it's probably best to wait or ask them later, rather than distract people, because that's one of the quickest ways to make enemies. So there's different ways to work together. There's, like the example I said before, where you just find a couple of friends and you use their dining table. Or there's, I should have gone through this slide. There's cafes, friends' houses, like I said, dedicated co-working spaces. We've got one that's just opened up near us at the start of the year, which has been really good. I probably go there 2 to 3 times a week. Before that, it was just cafes, friends' houses, anywhere with PowerPoint and Wi-Fi, basically. There's meetups. So chances are there'll be a WordPress meetup near you. There's actually a few new ones popped up recently. I think there's a couple in Sydney, most of the capital cities. Jelly, what I mentioned before, I'm not sure how active they are, but I'm pretty sure there's still one running up in Brisbane. There was a couple in Sydney, I think. They're kind of like a co-working space, but also a Jelly is a group of people that just come together and work on whatever they want, whether it's knitting or building a website or jewelry. I think there was a lady who was making jewelry as well. Yeah. WordCamps, obviously. I think someone said there is going to be another WordCamp somewhere in Australia. I was testing you. I knew where it was. There's WP Australia, wpaustralia.org. If you go there, it'll actually show you, it has a map of all the meetups around Australia. It also has an invite to the WP Australia Slack group, which is pretty active as well. A lot of people here are in that Slack group, which is another great place if you can't meet up with people physically. Just use it as a virtual water cooler or forum. There's wordpress.slack.com, which is like the global Slack channel, which has everyone in it. You could even collaborate on some projects together. So, for example, I said before, Nick, Tracy and I used to go and co-work together. We also do a podcast called WP Bosses that's like interviewing other people in the WordPress space in Australia to kind of promote the community aspect of the community in Australia. And that's something really cool. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't spent all that time together and went, oh, this would be a really good idea, let's do that. I feel like I've already spoken about the community a lot. That title is to signify all these photos that I'm going to show you of myself in... So that one on the left is one of the co-working spaces locally, and a couple of ladies I met. They, like I said, that one on the left is a travel agent. One on the right runs, she's a beekeeper. So again, like, doesn't matter. We all come together because we all share the same thing. Like, we don't want to be in our home office or bedroom and then 11 o'clock comes and you get a reminder to go and get the washing out and hang it up. And then the one on the right is, I think that's our WordPress meetup. Video conferences is another one that I don't think I've mentioned. There's lots of serious work. Thanks for that, James. That's that one actually down on the bottom right are just 4 guys from Melbourne who just get on a video chat with each other every day, I think. And just because they all work from their own home office by themselves. And so it's a good way to just interact with other, as if you were colleagues in the same office space. You get to have that water cooler chat or ask advice. So that's kind of like virtual co-working online. So there's one of us at my place, just sitting outside with the, Oki the dog. There's us again at Nick's place. It's actually on the top of Tambourine Mountain. Really nice view. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Yeah, hit up Nick. Yeah. And then more of us at my place, at Tracy's place, at the local library with Grant there. It's usually revolves around food or beer. There's Tracy, the captain of the barbecue boat. We didn't actually work that day. But that's the kind of community that was built from just doing the co-working thing, I guess. This has, yeah. This is those 4 guys. It's just something they do. They just get on a video chat and just dance. It's really good. It goes for like 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think I'll play it all though. They call themselves jazz hands. Question time?
Hey, Robey.
Hi, Jake.
So I know you were fundamental in starting the Port Macquarie meetup group. What would you say to other people who are in remote areas who don't have an existing meetup group? How would they go about starting one up and organising it?
Yeah, really great question. Thank you, Jake. So I was actually quite surprised at the turnout we got in Port Macquarie, which is quite a small town. It's actually traditionally a retiree town, but there's a new university, so there's more younger people there now. But we went on to the WordPress, I can't remember the exact URL, but you can register for WordPress to actually sponsor your meetup.com account because it is paid. There's a monthly fee. So if you just express your interest there, they will help cover that meetup cost. But that's essentially how you get started. You find a venue. They can also help chip in to pay for that as well if you need it. And then you basically just set an event. Choose a topic. Anyone can present. We just started with I think it was how to set up a backup plugin on your website. So something really basic. It kind of depends on the audience in your area, but that's also hard to tell from the beginning. So we just started really basic. The next one was how to set up a caching plugin or something. In the first, I think from the very first one, we had 8 people turn up, which was fine. It was the max amount of people that could fit in our venue anyway. And then for the first 12 months or so, we had 8 to 10 people. And then towards the end of that year, we were getting more people, so we had to find a bigger venue. So now we're at probably 12 to 15 people a month. I think something that's helped that is just consistency. So once a month, every month, sometimes you have a break over Christmas or whatever. But people start to learn, okay, it's the last Thursday of the month or whenever you have it. So there's going to be a meetup on. I'd really recommend to find at least 1 or 2 other people to help take on that burden. It's not a burden, take on that responsibility. So we've got 3 organisers. Jake, who asked the question, is actually one of our other organisers. I did not plant Jake in the audience. And Mel, my wife. So between the 3 of us, we change around who's speaking, who's presenting the news. Sometimes we had Jamin from Kinetics come and speak on Thursday, who are also one of our sponsors, who sponsor pizza for everyone. So everyone can attend for free pizza, learn something new, make new connections, mingle and develop synergy.
Awesome. Any other questions? I want to know how you get your comedy routine going, mate.
That kind of just happened.
Great presentation. Just wanted to find out the name of that last vlog.
The dancing?
Yeah.
Jazz Hands.
Jazz Hands. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they're in Melbourne. Their names are Joel Eade, was top left. Then we had Phil Kurth, Ben Pearson. Yeah, there was only 3. Yeah. Yeah, they're cool guys.
Question on the back. Oh, Ricky. That'd be right. If you want to say anything to do with you being the platinum sponsor again, that's it, mate. Or drink sponsor, no chance.
Who's sponsoring? Hey, Robey, great talk. Thank you. I don't know what you're nervous about. You've done an awesome job. But
Thank
just
you.
a quick question. Have you ever worked in an office or with other, sort of in that kind of office environment? And if so, do you prefer working remotely or prefer the office environment, and why?
So in previous professions, I'd worked in an office as well. Before I got into web, I did IT for 5 years and worked in an office every day, which was fine. But and this may be just me, but I get very stale very quickly if I'm in the same place all the time. And so I really like the variation of just different places. So yeah, I really prefer that. I do have a home office set up, which is nice. It's got the dual screens and whatever, which is fine for 2 to 3 days a week. But yeah, just that change. Actually, one thing I didn't mention is, I think it was before a meetup in Brisbane once. I was living in the Gold Coast and I was able to go up and said, oh, is there any office space that I can use? Where would you recommend me go? And then I think I went to Human Made's office. Human Made are a pretty big name in the WordPress community. And then a few other people turned up, and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm in an office with a guy from Human Made, a guy from XWP, a guy from Automatic, a guy from Envato. I'm like, how did I get here? And everyone's just doing their own thing in the same office. And yeah, it was a cool experience. Yeah. I don't even know if I answered your question.
Couple of minutes left. Final questions?
Great job, Robey. Having participated in some of your co-working events, I can highly recommend people getting their things together, if you are interested in more about setting up your own WordPress meetup, you can go to make.wordpress.org/community. That's where you go to find the wider WordPress community. You can also find the community team in the WordPress.org Slack. If you're in Australia and you want to connect with the WordPress Australia community, all of these people here, we have our own dedicated Slack channel. And there's a team there dedicated also to helping people who want to set up their own meetups. So if you want to find out any more about any of that, come and hit me up and I can give you links and show you where to go. We'd love to help.
So it's D right at the back. D, can you wave your hand? There you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Dee. 2 minutes.
Should I put the video back on?
Does anyone
Yeah,
see
show the
what chat
video.
sounds?
Go the video. You spent half an hour setting up the AV. Let's do the video again, eh?
Ha